Mine is, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Mine is Taylor Swift, Luke Combs, Van Morrison, John Mayer, and wait for it, Hannah Montana.
You've got some good variety too.
People ask me all the time what my what's your favorite type of music? I couldn't tell you because it literally depends on the mood that I am in. Obviously a lot of Taylor Swift this year.
Yes.
But Hannah Montana at 5 is hilarious because there's this thing on Spotify called like the Hannah Montana playlist or something. It's like Hannah Montana mix. It is my favorite. Like if I'm in a bad mood, that's the playlist that I put on because I cannot be in a bad mood when there's Hannah Montana playing or like songs from Princess Diaries. That's just like the millennial in me cannot.
I think that's amazing.
Help herself. So yeah, Van Morrison and Hannah Montana make my Spotify Wrapped. So
that's awesome.
I think it was Neil Young.
Neil Young and Beyonce.
And Mac Miller, yeah.
And Mac Miller. Like full on genres.
We have range. I will just say this.
Yeah,
the No Punts Allowed podcast has range.
By the way, are we actually recording the podcast right now or no?
Oh, we are. I forgot.
Well, producer Matt got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is it. I don't know.
He's like, geez, these uncultured swine.
All right. Well,
someone who probably has legitimate musical taste would be producer Matt over us. So
producer Matt in the text messages, let us know your
Spotify Wrapped, please.
Your top 5. All right, we're coming in hot. In 3, do we have a rundown? Yeah, sure. 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah.
Do we have a rundown? Yeah, sure. No puns allowed.
No puns allowed. Yeah, maybe actually I don't know. Maybe you heard the pre-show conversation where we're going through our Spotify mixes. That's what we do here.
Spotify Wrapped, yeah.
Yeah, to a college football podcast. Lots of news. It's National Signing Day as we record this, which is hilarious. I have a rant about that.
Okay.
But first, Municipal. Right here.
What up?
Shout out. It is the holiday shopping season. And you need to buy things that make you feel good, that make you look good, that people are going to want to wear. And Municipal, we love you. We appreciate you. It's a nice sweatshirt, by the way.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites.
It's great color.
Like the neutrals with a pop of color. I feel cool.
This shirt that I'm wearing, it's like there's a little camo, but it's like subtle camo. Whenever I have a tough day, not a tough day, I need motivation. This is my get shit done shirt.
I love that. It's like Black Ops. That's
it
what
is.
You can call
yeah,
it.
No, it is. It's like if I wear this, people are like, oh fuck, that guy means business. But municipal.com.
Do you think anyone looks at you and is like, this guy means business?
There is a side. Maybe I would hope so, but probably not.
None of us know that side. I mean, I'm sure in the professional world, yes, and this is supposed to be professional. But knowing you as like dad you and like college football writer you are you're probably the most well liked person that I know in that landscape.
When I rarely yell at anybody. When I have to raise my voice in the house. First off, I scare me more than I scare my kids. And my kids are like, they're also like, look at me confused. Like, this isn't real. This isn't real yelling.
Yeah.
We know you, buddy. This is faux yelling.
Yeah,
they're not necessarily wrong. That's fine.
Amazing.
Yeah. We are running out of football games.
We are. It's championship week / National Signing Day. / we got a new playoff. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the National Signing Day thing?
What are we doing here?
I 100% agree.
What are we doing? National Signing Day used to be a joyous occasion. And maybe the business of college football has made National Signing Day as irrelevant as it is because we're just signing contracts and NIL payments are going through and lawyers, like everything else, are ruining everything. Like, maybe. But this sucks. You're on the editorial side of things at BR.
Yeah.
I would have to imagine, interest, not just for people, but everything. I'm taking the temperature of social media, and I'm seeing things, and obviously the recruiting people are hungry for this shit because it's their jobs and their livelihood, and they live and breathe it. I have to imagine the general pulse of this is down because largely people don't know when it is or if it's happening. right?
So normally this early signing period is 2 weeks from now. So it's in between when we have Heisman, Army, Navy, and when college football playoff is in a mix of bowls. So I was looking at the content that we did last year, and I think it was like December 21st. So it's very strange. It's also strange because of the transfer portal stuff. I did read that the choice of when National Signing Day is not the NCAA's, it's another organization. So it's very confusing. I think the other thing is that, like, if you're a coach, like, prepping for the championship game this week or college football playoff in general, like, what? And I saw Dan Mullen on, I think it was Pat McAfee this morning, and he was saying, like, there wasn't a National Signing Day, whether it be early or the regular one that happens in February, first Wednesday of February, that he wasn't on the phone at 3:00 in the morning. Like, that's just, it was always still a big deal, even when there was transfer portal and all those type of things. Like, it still is a pretty big deal. I think it's the timing of it. Like, I think if it was still in a few weeks, it would be fine. But again, you're dealing with coaches being in the middle of playoffs, like all of this stuff. So they figured this would be a better week, I guess, championship week, when there's less teams to worry about. But it makes me sad for the kids that, I mean, we've talked about this a lot, like the impact of the transfer portal and how it's affected recruiting in terms of high school students and all of those things. But it makes me sad for the kids that, like, don't get, like, as big of a signing day. And yes, it's just the technicality. Like, people can commit whenever they want. This is just signing on the dotted line. All of those things. Again, there is another one that happens. So there are a lot of top commits that are already committed. I think the biggest thing that we're going to see is now this is going to become, National Signing Day is going to become a flip day. So it's going to be all about who flips who on these days, as opposed to who's committing. And there will be more of it come February, obviously, because that's like the final deadline for it. But that will probably be the biggest focus of signing day. I will say, numbers wise and interest wise, people still always care about recruiting. We do a recruiting staple every single week on Bleacher Report because our guy Brad Shepard, he does it because it legitimately, people still care about recruiting, and 100%. That includes transfers and stuff like that. But it's frustrating, I think, from a standpoint of, like, you want to give it its flowers and be able to have that day, and it feels very just like shoved into whenever we could because of the landscape of college football right now.
Recruiting is a year-round beast at this point. Obviously, when you look at the resources that are dedicated to it, I like the Christmas day of recruiting was signing day in February. I always liked it because it was cool. I mean, Jesus, harken back to years past where we would fly out to the Bleacher Report studios, me and my guy Michael Felder and Barrett Lee, and we would shoot video for 3 fucking days about leading up to signing day.
I mean, signing day was crazy. I used to be on the alerts team, and we would legitimately have people working from like 4 a.m. Pacific time until, so I guess 7 a.m. Eastern, on just alerting nonstop. And like, it was just one of the biggest days. And now it's just become so difficult. One, since they introduced the early signing period, and then add transfer portal into it, add expanded playoff, all of this different stuff. It has just become incredibly chaotic. So it is unfortunate because, like I said, I wish it was more of a spectacle for the kids that are signing today. It's such a big deal for their families, and like, it's your hard work paying off and you really deciding to go. I also think the other part of early signing day that's kind of meh is that, like, these kids can also get out of it pending coaching changes, I mean, it's really easy to get out of your national letter of intent compared to how it was probably 10 years ago. So yeah, that part is kind of a bummer. So I'm hoping that maybe in the coming years we figure out a way to make signing day better. I was going to say great again.
Make signing day great again. Perfect. Let's make... No, the playoff is great. It is flawed. We
Perfectly
have rankings.
Flawed.
You and I did our ranking show last night, which I love. I think you and I finally have a pretty good rhythm as to how this fucking weird system works. We could talk about it for 45 minutes, which we do easily. And we will do again on Sunday as a teaser to break down the final rankings and the playoff games, which I'm really looking forward to. So we got our rankings last night. we're I don't know. We've had some time. The weird thing about doing these shows live, we see the results live, and then like a fine wine, I think takes age. So in the moment, we're just kind of reacting, and it's like, oh my God, South Carolina, Alabama, oh, like that's what we do. Hopefully, a little bit more eloquently than that. Now that you've had time to sleep on it, what's your biggest rankings takeaway?
So a couple things. First, I will say when we're live, we don't also get to hear the College Football Playoff Committee chairman talk about specific things and answer specific questions that are great questions for Maurice Davis always. And the biggest thing that stuck out to me was that they said there is no jumping of other teams if you do not play this weekend. Like, this is set in stone.
I didn't even hear that.
You will not, they said you will not, there's no metric that they will look back at and change their mind on. This is set in stone. So, like, if you're South Carolina and Miami, you're out. Like, you are not in. So, that's basically what was being said. The second thing is, I didn't realize how upset people were about Miami being behind Alabama compared to maybe the two other SEC teams that I think have a better case. I think on the field wise, both Ole Miss and South Carolina can make cases that they should have jumped Alabama in these rankings.
Yes.
But the large thing is that the record is better for Miami. So that was really why it wasn't like, okay, they have the same record, so it doesn't matter. But the record was like the main focus thing for Miami fans, and I guess people looking at the college football playoff. And lastly, the biggest thing for me is that I hope that the College Football Playoff Committee does not punish people for playing in their conference championship games, because I think, thinking of SMU specifically, if they end up losing, they better stay in.
Well, but to piggyback on that, what you said earlier about teams not moving, that is probably going to hold. That's good news for SMU, because clearly, those teams are not going to move around.
They would evaluate them probably the same way that they would evaluate Miami, though. So then you would be a little worried. They're evaluating your conference and your strength of schedule and strength of record. Though SMU has a better one than I think Miami, but it's still worse than Alabama. So that I think is maybe the concern for them.
My take, I think Miami y'all lost 2 games. This is if you're bitching today, you fucked up. The days of being left out, being undefeated are over. You had a chance, South Carolina. You had a chance, Ole Miss. The more I think about Ole Miss, you lost to Florida, you mangled that game, and you lost to Kentucky, which is horrible. That's a horrible loss. You have nothing to complain about.
Well, and the other thing is that the big thing was brand. And to someone's point earlier today, I was listening to something and they're like, if you're a Miami fan and you're like, oh, brand is being looked at over, the stuff on the field, it's like Miami's a huge brand. Don't get me wrong. The ESPN and TNT, who have college football playoffs, would not mind Miami being in the college football playoffs. That's not a brand that's hurting. Now, if you're talking about Arizona State or an SMU, those are not as big of brands as Miami and Alabama.
Well, so the one take for me that we didn't mention last night, and I hate doing this because I'll be the group of 5 hater, which I'm not. Boise State being number 10 is flat out wild to me. I like this team. You and I like this team.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Group of 5. Yay. Go group of 5. Yay. They have not looked like the 10th best team in college football for about 2.5 months.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing is that the committee, they're willing to dig into quote eye test for certain teams, but they have not used the eye test for Boise State because, again, the rule is going to be the highest ranked group of 5 goes. And I don't know. I think one of the other things that I didn't think about before is that also means that if Boise State wins, that they would be getting the bye. It wouldn't change that that Arizona State would beat a higher ranked team in their conference game.
I would
so
imagine
like that doesn't matter either. And then
you can't do it. There's not a market correction big enough to change that. They fucked up though. This is the fuck
exactly.
up. Like,
and I don't think that's right. So
says Arizona State, whomever, Arizona State, let's say Arizona State wins, they're 15. Boise State wins. Arizona State's not jumping. Now, I don't know. This is kind of fun, right? This is where the committee can be assholes. Arizona State wins their conference. That's supposed to mean a lot. Is Arizona State going to jump South Carolina, Ole Miss, Miami, and Alabama? Maybe. Maybe the committee just says, hey, conference championships matter. Right? Remember how important this was in the previous format? Like, and then you could put them in front of Ole Miss, you put them in front of Ole Miss, in front of Boise State if you wanted to.
To give them a better seating is what you're saying.
I don't see that, but that, like, to me.
Well, and that's why I was like, I feel like this is really weird but again, they did say if you are playing this weekend that there is a possibility that you can move around. But if you don't play this weekend, like the teams that are behind you are going to be behind you and the teams that are in front of you are going to be the ones in front of you. So I don't think that even with like losses that they're going to move down some of the teams that are in, I guess, aside from Boise State and anywhere in the Big 12 or the Mountain West. I should say everybody else is safe.
Are you a little surprised that we have a playoff, we have 12 teams, and we have very little discussion to be had? Now, we have intrigue, right? UNLV Boise State's playoff game, Iowa State, Arizona State's playoff game. I think this is one of the best. I love these games. I love Penn State, Oregon, even though nobody wants to go to the fucking game, apparently, and tickets are $12. I wish I was going to that game. We have a live show to do the following day. I would love to see that game. I love all of this. I love Georgia, Texas again, even if it doesn't matter. But are you a little surprised that the reality is if Clemson beats SMU, the only question is is SMU going to fall, far enough to get in a Miami team, which we don't think they are.
No.
Are you surprised that we can't get drama with our playoff? Like, we got some last year when Florida State got fucked. That was fun. Yeah. Entertaining, unless you're a Florida State fan. It was not fun at all. That was intriguing to me. But maybe not shocking when you actually thought about it and talked through. But there was drama. There's like no drama here. Like, you have one scenario that could open up the doors, and you know what the team is. That's it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on last night's show, is that this is the first one, so the committee's not. That's the whole point. That's why they set it up this way, is so that they don't have to make a decision that's going to be controversial. They had the 14 playoff. It was the last one last year. They made the controversial call because it was the last one, and it was like, okay, it doesn't matter. And I mean, this year's committee has 6 new people. So to me, it was like a sayonara to the 4 team and how imperfect the 4 team was. I think they'll stick to the status quo here, and there won't be that much controversy over it. But what I do like about this is that you can make an argument because there's so many imperfect schedules and resumes that exist for these teams to play. The other thing that is actually a perfect transition into something that I want to talk about is the people whining about the college football playoff expansion and being like,
so tired
this is why we should do this. This is why we shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this is an imperfect system. It's always going to be an imperfect system. The BCS was an imperfect system. The 4-team playoff was an imperfect system. This is going to be an imperfect system. It's going to change. It's going to develop. We're never going to get it perfectly right. I'm sorry. With that being said, like, the drama of people being like, well, we don't have 12 teams good enough to compete for a national championship. If you win and you make it through this bracket, you absolutely deserve to be the national champion of college football if you make it through this bracket. Say you are an underdog and you are a 12 seed and you end up winning, you beat the best of the best. You can't say like, oh, like, it's just so funny to me. Yeah, that's like college basketball. They let 68 teams try for a national championship.
Do you hate fun? Like, here, I'll talk to these whiners. babies more. Like, oh, the BCS, the sacred BCS. It was stupid. The people that are saying, like, I hate the BCS are also the people that said, we need more bowl games. Well, you're getting more great
meaningful bowl games.
Bowl games. Bowl games that aren't fucking dumb. Like, you're getting elite games, and you're going to get such great stories. I told this show last night, and I told you before we came on. I was talking to a customer yesterday who's an Indiana fan, and it was awesome to hear him talking about how he's going to try and get to the college football playoff and the joy that he had and taking his kids and all these different things. And I was pumped for him because this is like an anomaly. And you know what? I want to see whoever Indiana plays, whether it's Texas or Georgia or Notre Dame, whoever it's going to be. I want to see it. And Indiana has proven itself. They're not going to get blown out, I don't believe. They may not win. They'll be an underdog. Fine. Great. I want to see Boise State. I just bitched that they're not one of the top 10 team, but you know what?
Give us a group of 5.
Ashton Genty up against, well, they may have a bye, which is stupid. That part is stupid. But Ashton Genty going up against whomever, like, I want to see it. This is an NFL running back. It's going to be the runner-up to the Heisman, most likely. We have random chances to see a special player do something for the last time. Like, say it, this isn't about like elitism, and it's not about what you like doing it the right way or any of that bullshit. It's about entertain me. Make me a bicycle clown. Like, do something fun. Give me something to bet on. Crown a champion this way. Who crowns a champion? Like, the March Madness bracket is really stupid. It's also the best postseason.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's
so
fun.
NFL playoffs are dumb. You have divisions. You have all these different things that are flawed. No one does this well, right? No one does this well. An elite team, and I don't know if we have an elite team this year, is still going to win the bracket. And that's what I love about this year. You say, like, we the BCS. Would you really feel good about a BCS right now with Texas and Penn State, Notre Dame? Like, I wouldn't. Oregon, if they win, would be a no-brainer. And sure, you could do Oregon, Texas, but, like, I would feel like that would shortchange a season that has delivered us a lot of really weird stuff, is my rant.
No, I agree. No, I'm on the same page as you, pun intended. Let's talk about Ryan Day and Ohio State losing to Michigan and the brawl that is. We will start with Ryan Day, Michigan. We will transition into planting flags and rivalries and post-game brawls. Can we talk about you botching rivalry week on our show last night? I felt so bad. It's hard, man. Said it. No, the worst part is that I said it once and I got it right. And then at the very end, I'm going to tee Kramer up and just rivalry week. It was horrible. But honestly, like, we've had worse blunders, I'm sure, on that show, but it was hilarious. And I also appreciate that you brought that up, because if you did that, I would for sure bring it up on the podcast.
Oh, no.
No. I'm so proud of you for being like, Paige, it was so embarrassing.
No. Well, God knows I say enough dumb shit. That's why I'm like, what was funny though, you had like a reaction afterwards where you're like, oh, like you had like it wasn't like
that one's hard.
Yeah, you're like, and then I just picked it up. I didn't say anything on a live show. Like, at that point, the bullets are live. We're flying.
By the way, one more behind the curtain thing is that my brother was making Gamecock jokes in the comments the entire time, and I didn't see it, but I wish I would have. But afterwards, he's like, did you see my comments? And I was like, oh, I saw these ones. He's like, no, not those ones. He's like, I was doing that so I didn't get kicked out of the chat, but I was making some really funny puns with Gamecocks.
That's perfect. We need a disruptor in our world.
Yes.
So let's talk about Ryan Day. I wrote about this, and I've written about Ryan Day now 2 years in a row for Ohio State, Michigan. And I think I have sympathy now more than anything. I don't know, I think I feel bad for Ryan Day. He's got to be like the loneliest man in the universe right now. But I don't know what happened here. And I couldn't say this last night. Was he playing a concussed quarterback? Like, his quarterback got hurt. They checked him out for a concussion. They brought him in, and he played terrible.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not, there's no sourcing on this. This is reckless podcast communicating, but I'll say this. The way that went down and the way it was reported for people that watched him go through the concussion protocol and then how he played afterwards, I can't help myself but say, okay, maybe it was the offensive line. Like it did not, this wasn't working. This wasn't working throughout. And I thought that part, I haven't heard a lot of conversation after the fact, but he got hit really hard on the field. He was clearly just uncomfortable. Yeah. And then from there, the whole thing spiraled.
Yeah. It's interesting that you said this year is the year that you like sort of have empathy for him. I did last year. Because I feel like we've just been having this conversation so much, and it was almost like frustrating because it was like, okay, but look at his record against everybody else. Like that's what I kept pointing to. But now this is an alarming situation where your record is against this team that it very much matters. And you play, by the way, at the end of the year, every year, end of the regular season. That's a big deal in terms of like playoff, all of that kind of stuff. I know people are like, oh, it doesn't matter because they're still going to make the playoff, which is great because I don't want one game to define a season for teams. And I said that about every team, really. But what struck me is just like how frozen he was. And I think it gave me empathy for maybe the type of person that he is and the type of person that we sort of value maybe sometimes on the college football field, and like the type of guy that gets like really riled up. And I think this is something that like a Kyle Shanahan is a perfect example of that too. Like Kyle Shanahan is not getting like super crazy pissed off and riled up all the time. And I think one of the things that people used to do with Harbaugh is like, they were like, oh, you know, he has his quirks, but at least he has passion. At least he cares about his players, all of those things. And here you have the flip side where Ryan Day, I believe, cares about his players, but he doesn't have that like visible fire that people are looking for unless Lou Holtz calls him out on something. And I think it's a weird time for him to be that guy and be that coach, because I think having a level-headed person in a situation like that is always a good thing. But there's just so much context missing outside of the locker room. Like, only the people that are in that locker room can really give a definition of what it's like to be coached by him and what they would want out of a coach instead. And I think it's just it is a weird, because like you, I find myself feeling sorry for him because I'm like, I mean, there's much larger things in football and I'm sure he's a good person, but like the amount of hatred and negativity and the fact that also this can be completely wiped away. Like, so he could go through all of this for the next, month and a half and win a national championship on January 20th. And he will have had to suffer all of this and then be in a situation where that will all go away and disappear.
I mean, for evidence that can happen, do we need to talk about Jim Harbaugh's tenure at Michigan? Now, look, Jim Harbaugh at Michigan almost got fired, had to take a fucking pay cut, right? When you think about, I'm looking through his seasons at Michigan, right? 2018, 2017, they go 8-5. That is year 3. 18, 10-3. You have 9-4. All right, COVID year, you're 2-4. That's when he took the pay cut. 12-2, 13-1, 12-0. Ryan Day, I have sympathy because I can't imagine being as good at your job in so many respects as he is, having 60 minutes a year to find you. Just from a human level, I understand it. And I could argue this is not healthy and probably he should do something different. They should do something different. But from a human level, part of this is extremely relatable. And I think it's hard sometimes to imagine. The guy is 66-10. He's 46-5 within the conference. 13-1, 7-1, 11-2, 11-2, 11-2, 10-2. This is, and they could win a national championship, right?
Yeah.
Like, are we?
Because also the other thing with Harbaugh is like we talked about this at the time. Like, if not Harbaugh, then who were you going to get to come and be a better coach and be a better fit there?
Vrabel would be the obvious one because he's lived it, he's breathed it.
Well, didn't he say he doesn't like the idea of being a college coach because of what comes with it?
Yeah,
Wasn't
it
that
sucks.
him?
I mean, look at Michigan,
No,
by the way.
he talked about the fact that you're like less of a football coach and more, and we've talked about that a lot, how the
CEO.
You're just
Today's
not
National Signing
a
Day.
football coach like you are in the NFL. It's a very different thing.
Ohio State is plus 450 to win the national championship. They're third selection on the board. What I want to happen, one, because we would be right. Two, because I have a future bet. Three, because I think it'd be hilarious, is Ryan Day to win the national title, and they ask him about it. He said, I just would like to take the time to say, fuck all of you. Fuck every last one of you motherfuckers. And he has especially the Ohio State fans.
I would love that for him too, because I think, again, we talk about the human aspect of it. Now let's look at it from the perspective of a fan base. Like, you're sick and tired and you're ready for this.
Torture.
You're a diehard Ohio State fan.
Yeah,
you are done. You want this to be over.
That's an inexplicable loss.
I think of it in terms of like Arizona basketball, because for me, like, that's the level of like crazy fandom that would cause me to be like, I sort of forget for a second you are a human being and coaching my team, and something needs to change and you got to go. But it is difficult, and I think. I don't know that it happens. I feel like that would be a storybook ending and a Hollywood ending that we would love to see. I think the other thing I do want to note is that I did talk to a Michigan fan this week, and they said for them, the first time that Harbaugh beat Ohio State was the sign of what was like coming ahead, what was like in front of them. Okay. I think for Ohio State fans, like, that is what you're looking for, is that like it's a sign of things to change. I don't know if anything other than a national championship fixes that before Ryan Day gets fired. I think given another chance, we even talked about how you said like it was his father passing and losing to Michigan are the worst things that have happened to him in his life and his family's life. So I don't know. It makes me really sad. I also think if you fire Ryan Day, like where does he go after that? Because I would want him to coach my football team in a heartbeat.
He will be hired in a minute.
In a heartbeat.
He will be hired in a minute. I mean, that is.
And I would hate to be Ohio State and wait for that to happen somewhere else, because he'll make it happen somewhere else.
This Ohio State Michigan series, before Michigan won 4 in a row, I think Ohio State had won 8 in a row. Michigan had won 1. Ohio State had won 5. Michigan won. Ohio State 2. I mean, I'm in awe of this series because it like endures stretches of dominance, and it tortures the other fan base. Like,
it does.
This Ohio State stretch, to your point about the fans, we can defend Ryan Day at a human level, but you think about how these games have gone. 42-27 Michigan, 45-23, 30-24, 13-10. 2 of those obviously in Columbus, which is brutal. But you think about Michigan running the ball in the second half in some of these games, and you think about Jim Harbaugh and his big middle finger to pretty much everybody. You think about actual middle fingers, which have been thrown up in this game by players. Like, goddamn, man, this rivalry does it. And if you're an Ohio State fan, the only thing preventing you from truly losing your fucking mind is the fact that you're going to get a bye and you're going to win your first round game. Like,
they don't get a bye.
I think they will get a bye. Not a bye, a home game.
Sorry, I was like, a bye. No, they can't.
No, sorry. God damn this format. No,
I know. Sorry.
They will get a home game, and that place, when it's 20 degrees and it's loud and it's fucking miserable, they're gonna win, right? Like, that's my feeling. But I keep saying that, and they keep losing. You as well. But
let's talk about the post game activities. I mean, also, this was not a one-off of like, wow, it got crazy after Ohio State, Michigan. It got crazy after pretty much every rivalry game. which was nuts. I think to one point, I'm team if you don't beat them on the field and they want to plant a flag on your field, whatever. What I don't love is destroying fields, by the way. I know, I think it was maybe, was it Florida last year? Or it was some team in Florida, whether it be Miami, Florida State, Florida. One of those teams destroyed a field last year. Like, I'm not good with that. Like, go plant your flag, do your thing, dance on the logo, whatever you want to do, but do not destroy the field. There are people that work very, very hard for those fields. But I'm fine that if you beat them in their house, go do what you want to do. That was fine. They put the pitchfork in the A. That was fine. It was a player that did transfer, so there was a little animosity there. But like, you know what? Again, play better on the field. That I'm totally cool with that. Are you team that, or are you team like have some respect for the game?
No, I love it. As a bystander, I like this is what makes college football great. This is true hate.
I do have a rant on this that I just remembered that I saw. There were people praising Sark for like getting his guys off the logo and being like, no, come on, get off the field. And then criticizing like Ryan Day for like not getting involved. I don't know. Like, to me, it's like, okay, Sark, the guy that like legitimately yelled at like a perfect stranger about something that was very minor. You're praising him in this one specific moment. And he had said he watched what happened earlier with Michigan and Ohio State. He said he watched it in his hotel room. But again, like, you don't know what you would do in that moment. And also, like, I personally am not going to judge anyone for how they react to that. Like, it is what it is. It's the heat of the moment. And I don't think people realize like how heated that is. That's like with like rushing the field and like having the opposing team players on there. Like, you're asking for someone to get hit. I feel the same way about rushing the court. Like, it is a safety thing. Like,
someone is gonna die.
It's a human. It's a human reaction. We're all human, and I think it's you can't judge people based on that. Of course, you would want people to take the high road and, you know, be respectful and all those things. But tensions are so high, emotions are so high, and there's so many people and so many things happening. I just thought it was interesting that like it was, you know, oh wow, look at Sark for running out there and telling them to get off the logo. But
yeah, don't tell him to step back.
Right, yeah, just don't tell me,
motherfucker.
That was so funny.
That was great.
But yeah, it's just so weird. Like, the criticizing of like Ryan Day's reaction. Like, to be fair, he did not run into that scuffle, but also if he would have run into that scuffle and started like trying to do something would have happened, and it would have been his fault in some capacity. Just so we're clear,
everything is his fault. I mean, like the one thing I love, we talked about playoff killing rivalries in the regular season. There was like fist fights everywhere. There was mace, there was flags, and you know, like
NC State. Like, it was so fun.
I love it. And then at the same point, I liked Billy Napier's response. Like, hey, we don't need this to like, this is a distraction from what we're doing. And by the way, quick rant. Fox's coverage of the Ohio State Michigan, you would have thought that like someone was shot. They were dead. They're like, there's just no place in the world.
The game for this. Well, Herb Street, who I love, and usually, you know, agree with a lot of his takes, but he was like, they need video footage. They should sit everybody down and hold them accountable for their actions. I think you let bygones be bygones and you move past it. I mean, the pepper spray thing was a little much. Like, there should be some investigation.
That should be investigation. Yeah, that's bad.
But into the fact that there's pepper spray, but not like Fox players who got upset and planted flags who were instigators that they should be held accountable for everyone else's actions after that. No, I'm sorry. No.
Fox is funny. They're like, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened
to the sport.
Are 30 different camera angles of the following worst thing that's ever happened. Like, they're not, when somebody blows out their knee horribly, they're like, we're not going to show you this. Fox was ready to show you all of it.
There were cameras rolling. There were people in there.
It's a disgusting act. Just disgusting. Everyone else is like, yes, I need this in my life right now. No one gets seriously hurt. Macing, not great. We can do without that. But the rest of us are like, fuck yeah, man. Like, this is why I love this sport. The NFL could never. So don't get hurt. Don't get maced. and win your games at home, and then you don't have to
hurt
worry about
somebody
anybody
else,
planting
plant your flag and
the
move
flag.
on. Yeah, punching people
harder.
also with a helmet
better.
on is counterproductive. I don't know why we still do that.
Yeah.
That one's really stupid. Your cough, I'm catching it from through the screen. Let's talk about Lincoln Riley really quick, because there was a weird rumor about him today before we move into previews, because we've ranted so long on this episode about things.
Yeah, it's a good rant. Lincoln
Riley rumored, I guess, UCF, after Gus Malzahn is leaving to now be the offensive coordinator at Florida State. Gus Malzahn, or UCF reached out to USC to see if Lincoln Riley was available.
Sure. I kind of love this.
Like, shoot for the stars. Shoot for the stars.
Does that not say where we're at with USC? Does that not?
No, I think that says where we're at with college football, and like UCF has enough money that they'd probably be able to lure him to leave.
USC has I'm looking at National Signing Day, or I'm looking at recruiting rankings. Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Ohio State. Auburn. Wow. Maybe they can actually win something.
Nope. You
USC
wanted Auburn to get blamed
is
for everything.
13. They've got a 5-star quarterback, of course, because that is the one thing that he does usually well. If Lincoln Riley hot seat squarely here, like if
they'll give
UCF
him another year, but next year, Lincoln Riley will be their head coach next year. They have until next year. If he is halfway through the season, it's Lane Kiffin tarmac season.
It has to be, right?
Oh yeah, it will be.
Can I interest you in a little USC schedule?
Yes.
They're going to win a lot of games. They should be good. These are, there's no dates, obviously, but we've got Missouri State, dub, Georgia Southern, dub, at Notre Dame, fun, at Illinois, at Nebraska, at Oregon, at Purdue, Iowa, Michigan, Michigan State, Northwestern, UCLA.
Jeez.
It's feeling 10-2-y is what it's feeling. And if they don't, they should fire him. Because
that's a good schedule to get you in the college football playoff. Let me say that.
You play
Even if you have blemishes,
at Notre Dame, at Oregon.
Yeah, that is a strength of schedule dream for being in the Big Ten. You're not going to look at that and think they're in Indiana from this year.
Feel like I need to go to that Iowa USC game. It's in USC. I feel like I need to go.
You want to come to California?
USC minus 9.5.
Also, LOL at everyone being like, look at USC destroying the Pac-12 only to be irrelevant, and then.
Well, shit's hard, man. Look at the SEC. It is part of the problem. But I will say, I love you. UCF, do you? Whatever. That's go ahead, do the thing.
All right. Should we talk about some college football championship weekend games?
We should. Again, awesome weekend. Divisions, losing them. A bit of a mess, but the outcome of that is you have 1, 2, 3, your Power 4 games. Okay, your Power 4 championship games all have point spreads of 3.5 or less. That is dynamite. Do you remember this? I mean, Jesus, Michigan was favored by 1,000 over Iowa.
Yeah,
it should have been. So we've got some really good games. We've got some great games on Friday night. So where do you want to?
Let's start. Let's do chronological. So let's do UNLV, Boise State, and Tulane Army.
I'm trying to remember what I have for locks for these. So I have Tulane and Army in my locks. I don't have Boise State. Line is 4. I'm struggling with this game. Boise State has been saying that they're dying to lose a football game. UNLV pushed them hard earlier in the year. What was it, 29-24? I remember that because I bet UNLV and I lost. Kind of like Boise State, though.
I'm taking Boise State -4.
I mean, these are like locks. We could just do locks and or combo. It's not a lock for me, but I agree with you. I think Boise State wins that game.
Yeah. That's a lock for me. Tulane Army. Tulane really
I love
shooting
Tulane.
themselves in the foot. You love Tulane in this game? I think so too.
I don't know what the fuck happened. Memphis is not bad. Actually, it's funny when you look at what Memphis has done, because Memphis is 10-2. They lost to Navy, and they lost to UTSA. Both were like really weird games. Beat Florida State. That feels like it was a year ago. I like this Tulane team. I like this Army team too, but I think Tulane is just a cut above. And I don't know what the hell happened. I can't explain last week.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
By the way, Army Navy the following week is kind of a banger.
It's going to be a good game.
It's a really good game. Both teams are pretty good. Yeah, I always love that game, even though they're bad. But now
exactly.
They're actually pretty good.
Let's start with for Saturday. Let's start with the Big 12 championship, since that is the early game. I'm not choosing this in locks. This is the hardest game for me to pick.
Yes.
This is a coin flip. I don't really know.
I have a solution for that, by the way.
I think I'm going to go Iowa State just because I am an Arizona alumni. So I think that's what I have to do.
Now, I like this over. I like the over when it was at 51, and now it's at 49 and a half. So what has happened here? What am I missing? That's a pretty big swing. And
it's
both
wild
these
to think
teams
that a Big
score.
12 championship and the SEC championship totals are set at the same.
Well,
that's wild.
What am I? That's an interesting line move.
And also the Big 10.
I'm going to take this over.
That's the Oregon effect.
I'm going to take this over at 49 and a half as a lock.
Okay.
I'm going to gladly take the point and a half. That's a little alarming. That's a big swing for a total, especially on a Wednesday. Yeah, but I think the Scatteraboo, Levitt, I think Iowa State can score. I think defenses are capable, but I think this has a chance to be a really fun game. I have no idea what to do. My heart tells me Arizona State. My head tells me Iowa State.
Okay.
And but I think I'm going to stay away.
All right. Let's go to the SEC.
What a mess.
Georgia versus Texas. I mean, obviously they played before, so I don't know. I think Texas wins this one.
I like Georgia as a lock.
Wow.
This is hard though. So we talked about this last night. The last time they played, Texas looked scared at home. They looked out athlete. They looked overpowered. Yeah. Georgia hasn't looked like that team a whole lot.
No.
And frankly, Texas hasn't necessarily looked like that. Well, that's because,
it took them 8 overtimes to beat Georgia Tech, so I just don't have any faith in this team.
But that's what scares me about this line.
You know what scares me about this Georgia team in general is that they could actually win a national championship being as bad as they are. That's the part that scares me.
You should, you wish there was a BCS, huh? Is that what you said? You wish there was a little
don't you dare
playoff format that kept it out. Yeah, no, I like Georgia. I don't love the game, but I have to pick locks, and frankly, we're running out of games, so this is one of them.
All right, the Big Ten and the ACC kick off at the same time. Let's do. I think you have a hot take for Big Ten, so let's wait on that. Let's do ACC first. SMU versus Clemson.
I like the over in this game as well.
I do too. That's my other lock.
Why this over has come down too from 57 to 55 and a half.
People don't believe in points anymore.
I am going to take that over. I think it's a super fun game. Both teams have top 15 offenses. I think Clemson may win this game, though, Paige.
So do I. I have a feeling, and I don't know whether to be happy about it or just like really annoyed, because it'll show the flaw in the system for sure. I don't see them winning a playoff game because I don't think they're one of the best 12 teams in the country.
No.
But it would eliminate Bama.
3-loss Dabo, just like strutting around the playoff.
Why can't we be the first 3-loss team to win a national championship? We were the first to go undefeated. Whatever it was.
I kind of like it. Like 3-loss Dabo.
He can't.
He's a vibe. An annoying vibe for many, but kind of like the vibe we didn't know we needed, but I'd actually kind of like to see, because he'd be a pain in the ass. But that's the format. You can argue that's right or wrong, but the fact of the matter is, it's 2-point spread. Crazy. I kind of leave Clemson, but I do like the over.
Big Ten. You have a hot take here. We are on opposite sides of this.
James Franklin, Big Ten champion.
He would. Wow.
He should also.
I think it'll be Oregon, but
the more I watch of Penn State, I know they just kind of survived. Minnesota was ugly. Minnesota's not that bad of a team. On the road, weird game, weird spot. Spread is only 3.5. I know listening to people this week, that surprised a lot of people. It doesn't shock me. I mean,
I thought it would at least be a touchdown.
I think this is a really interesting spot for Penn State to do what Michigan has done to Ohio State the last few years, which is to be a bully. And Oregon's got some dudes. Oregon has some dudes all over the place. But if I'm Penn State, I'm saying physicality-wise, I think we have an advantage.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this game.
I am interested to see what the ratio of Oregon to Penn State fans are there, because we talked about this with Indiana earlier. Some people are passing on going to these games because, again, both these teams will be in a playoff game. And the other thing is it's Oregon's first, that they do travel well, but it's Oregon's first Big Ten. And Penn State obviously has, their fans are going to be excited to be there in general. But I know it's closer for them to come, but I think that it'll be a good split of Penn State and Oregon fans, but I am curious because that could have play a factor as well.
It could. Yeah, no, do you blame fans from either team for not traveling to this game?
No, it's expensive. I'm sorry. It is so expensive to go to football games, and I don't even have to pay to go. So, I know what it costs to go. And I'm so glad it's covered because I probably wouldn't be going to a bunch of these if it wasn't. It is a tough reality that these games are pretty expensive.
I'm pumped for this week.
Me too.
I know the drama is like, how many you have an SMU Clemson playoff game? Sort of. You have an Iowa State, Arizona State playoff game. You have a UNLV Boise State playoff game. I don't know if you wanted anything, by the way, Ohio versus Miami of Ohio. I like Miami of Ohio, minus nice. 1.5. Marshall, Louisiana. I'll take Louisiana, minus 5.5. Chalky. Friday night is going to be fun, though. There
are a lot of good football games.
I'm very much looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a great weekend.
I think it will be too. Any random shit for you today? I wrote in the doc that we have a TikTok to record because I thought of this like 2 days ago.
Okay.
And it's from Wicked, and I need you to be a part of this because
right.
There's going to be a small grouping of people that understand this TikTok reference because it's college football related, but I need you to do it with me. And I know you agreed to it the other day on the phone.
Okay. So what do I have to do?
All you have to do is just say popular when I tell you to and record it. So we won't do it right this second. I will record it when we'll do it after. But I've made you do this like one other time, I think. And this I just know is going to be perfect. So,
any other random shit? Not really.
This week has been football centric. I know Thanksgiving it's so wild because yes, it was a holiday, but it was so Thanksgiving heavy, football heavy and work heavy that I was like, this is the home stretch, but it's a longer stretch because we go till January 20th.
And that is, I'm struggling a little bit with the new calendar.
It is.
It's not over.
No.
Getting Saturdays back is always weird. I have this the timing works out. I have my parents coming in town, not this weekend, but the following weekend. And so it's always odd. You break free of these Saturdays and you and I, maybe this year more than ever, have been this is as much football as I've ever watched in a season, I think, on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Because, it's work and it's been a great season. It's been awesome. So that getting your life back, quote unquote, is hard. And then the following Saturday though, there's games. So, it's weird because you always think you have this huge break, but we really don't. We have a break. We have Christmas. We have a break. We have games. We have a break. We have games. It just doesn't end.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit. I think after January 20th, I will be pretty dead. That's for sure. I will be taking a hiatus for a little bit before college basketball gets crazy.
I also want to say that this is a football-centric random shit. Seeing some of the bowl games get announced gets me happy, because my happy place isn't necessarily like, let's talk about these playoff games. My happy place is seeing the San Jose State, South Florida.
Yes, thank you for referencing that one. Shout
Hawaii
out Nick,
Bowl.
my fiance.
Yes, that is a great Christmas Eve game. We have Memphis versus West Virginia in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Next week, you and I will have to do some corny related, like what bowls are we looking at?
We have to, because bowls start the December 14th now.
Oh my God, what is that?
I know.
What even is that?
I don't know.
There are bowls.
So December 14th, there's the Cricket Celebration Bowl in the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl.
And Army Navy.
Yes. Then Tuesday, we get the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. Wednesday, the 18th. Yeah. And then the 20th, we get one college football playoff game and 2 bowls. And then Saturday, the 21st, is 3 college football games. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah. So it is crazy. I know. Looking at this is what I was telling you like last week or probably like 2 weeks ago, when I was like, making this college football like postseason content plan has been so difficult, because it's like breaking it up into what is covered is tough. So yeah, we have to talk about locks and how you're going to break down your locks, by the way, for bowl season, but we will have those on Bleacher Report, which is a good plug.
I didn't yes, real quick, I'm actually looking at this sort of for the first time, and feeling a little anxiety. However,
isn't it? No, it's like,
but what I love about it is, like, the front of bowl season is a little long in the tooth, and like you get like a little serving. Kind of pisses me off that Army Navy is in a standalone. I'm not gonna lie, but then you get like you work up, you have playoff games, but you still have that glorious stretch, which in my mind is December 26th, December 27th. December 28th is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 8 bowl games on December 28th.
Yeah. So I will say this. The week of Christmas is different for us. This year, I feel like it's a little more mellow, but once Christmas hits, it is a nonstop sprint to January 20th. Jesus. By the way, non-playoff bowl games go to January 4th this year. There's a bowl game on January 4th. So
Bahamas Bowl.
We are getting it from December 14th to, technically January 20th, but if you want to do December 14th to January 4th is bowl season.
This is a big old mess.
It is. It is a big old mess.
Wow. All right. Well, I now feel stressed. All right. That's our random shit, which really wasn't all that random.
Yes. Enjoy the games.
Yeah.
And we will watch the show on Sunday, please. We won't see you guys before we do another college football playoff show.
What time is that at? 11 a.m. Central Time?
I couldn't tell you. So I know it's...
Hold on. I'm going to look this up.
We'll post about it.
Hold on.
What time is it? College football playoff? Let's see who can find it first.
Official college football playoff website. Rankings. Schedule. Sunday is at 11 Central.
11 Central. So
noon to 4 p.m. Eastern.
So 9 a.m. my time.
Don't worry. Brett McMurphy will have all your bowl games by about 1:30. It is his Super Bowl, that dude.
And like I said last night, we'll get more of the college football playoff. Last year, we completed the show, and I made it from Manhattan to JFK before they announced the rest of the top 25.
I can't believe that was a year ago. I don't know what it feels, but it feels...
It's over a year ago now, but so crazy.
Crazy. All right.
All right.
For Paige, I am Adam. We will talk to you guys next week.